आयज वर्ल्ड ओशियन डे आनी हो दीस संवसारभर एक समुद्राच्या म्हत्वा खातीर एक असो दीस थारायल्लो आसा आनी ह्या दिसा खातीर आमी समुद्राचें म्हत्व आमच्या गोंया खातीर कितें आसा कारण गोंय हें एक कोस्टल स्टेट आसा आनी ताजे खातीर समुद्र एक गोंया खातीर भरपूर इम्पॉर्टंट आसा सगळ्या दृश्टीन आनी ताजे खातीर आमी आयज अशी एक व्यक्ती कडेन भासाभास करपाचें आसा जी व्यक्ती एक ह्या विशयाचेर खूब एक्सपर्ट आसा आनी ते हाजे पयलीं इंडियन नॅशनल इन्स्टिट्यूट ऑफ ओशनोग्राफी ह्या जागतीक संस्थे भितर तांणी सायंटिस्ट म्हणून काम केल्लें आसा आनी ते तातूंतल्यान रिटायर्ड जाल्ले आसात. प्लीज वेलकम डॉक्टर रमेश कुमार.
थँक्यू.
आयज आमी डॉक्टर रमेश कुमार हांकां विचारया की वर्ल्ड ओशियन डेचें गोंया खातीर कितें इम्पॉर्टन्स आसा आनी आमी कसलीं पावलां घेवपाक जाय की आमचो ओशियन सांबाळपा खातीर आनी तातूंतल्यान आमचें गोंय सांबाळपा खातीर आमी कितें करपाक शकतात.
व्हेरी गूड क्वेश्चन नीरज. ओशियन्स आमचे इतले हे आसा की आमचे पावसा लागून सायक्लोना लागून आमच्या फिशसा लागून सगळ्यांक ओशन आसा. 70% or 71% of the earth, this one is actually covered by oceans. And the fish, every day we say fish thali. When people or tourists come to Goa, the first thing which strikes their mind is actually fish thali. Whatever people come from all over India and maybe world.
Goa's identity is
identity actually. So that fish thali and the fish comes actually from the ocean. It's a very, very important thing. So in a global warming or a climate change scenario, आमच्या त्या फिशाक लागून खूब प्रॉब्लम जाता. सी वन इज एक्चुअली आमचे कॉरल रिफ्सा अफेक्ट जाता, आमचे कॉरल रिफ ब्लीच जाता, एसिडिफिकेशन जाता, खूब काम जाता आनी आमकां पावसाके मॅक्सिमम अमाउंट ऑफ मॉइस्चर आमचे अरेबियन सी नाल्यार बे ऑफ बंगाल नाल्यार सदर्न इंडियन ओशन वचून येता. सो वर्ल्ड ओशन डे म्हणल्यार ते एक अवेरनस घेवन येवपाक ज्यान आमी सेलिब्रेट करता. एवरी इयर आमी 8 जूनाक सेलिब्रेट करता एंड दीस इयर्स थीम आसा आमचे ओशन्स एज अ कॅटलिस्ट फॉर क्लायमेट. आनी आमकां आतां हे वर्साक आमकां 4th जून आमच्या पावस येयलो. सो दीस इयर एक्चुली इट इज सपोज टू कम आमचे केरळांत 1st जून येवपाक आसा. दीस इयर इट केम ऑलमोस्ट 2 days in advance. Goa also came 1 day before the climatological mean of 5th June. Very true.
So what is this signifies basically? Is it a normal thing or?
Yeah, basically the oceans, not only the Indian Ocean, आमचे एक पॅसिफीक ओशन आसा. पॅसिफीक ओशनांत एक फिनॉमिना आसा एल निनो म्हणून आसा. ईस्टर्न इक्वेटोरियल पॅसिफीक ओशनांत आमी फिनॉमिना आसा ते वार्मिंग ऑफ सी सर्फेस टेम्परेचर्स लागून द फिशस विच आर एक्चुअली इन दॅट एरिया एस्पेशली द पेरू कोस्ट that gets affected. Unusual warming of actually the Peru area, the coast of Peru affects the fisheries over there and it affects. But we are more bothered about the water circulation, atmospheric circulation. That El Nino affects our monsoon, okay, and the opposite of El Nino is actually La Nina. In fact, 2023 was actually one of the warmest years, and that was partially due to the El Nino phenomena which happened actually over the eastern equatorial Pacific Ocean. That affected our monsoon and we had actually 6% less of over the entire Indian subcontinent. This year the El Nino become neutral and we hope to have actually La Nina phenomena in the coming months of actually July and August.
So we are supposed to have a normal monsoon this year.
Yeah, this year we are supposed to have a normal to excess monsoon rainfall, especially for our state of Goa and for the India's subcontinent.
But is it before we have to have a normal monsoon throughout the year, throughout all the months?
Yeah.
But now we have seen a trend that suddenly there is a high rainfall in certain time and there are dry days in.
Yeah, very good question. In fact, in last year, that is 2023, we had actually an active spell in the month of July, and we never had such rainfalls in the past 76 years. And in the same year, 2023, August was one of the most driest years in the last 100 years. And out of the 122 days, starting from 1st June to 30th of September, every day it does not rain the same way. Some days, monsoon active jata. It is just like a human being, I'll put it that way. Each monsoon is unique. So if you look at each day, each day is different. So some days it becomes very, very active, some days it actually becomes weak.
Is there any trend like this over the years? Monsoon is changing?
That's a very good question again. Nowadays, earlier, we used to have actually both spatial and temporal distribution. Even if you look at actually the rainfall like discrete parameters, Santinesa pounds per the Donapala paus poduna, Altina pausasna, Madgam pausasna, Nala Kanakonasna, Valpoesna. If you look at the daily rainfall, it is highly different. You don't get the same amount of rainfall, and the maximum rainfall we get actually in the foothills of actually the Sahyadris. Such stations which are actually, there is the maximum, like say Valpoy, Sangam, and such areas we get. Other places like say maybe Panjim may not get that much.
Why is that actually happening?
Okay, there are several reasons. One is actually, as I said, it's because most of these Sahyadris or the Western Ghats, actually they prevent, and those areas gets actually a lot of rainfall. Plus another important thing is actually the clouds. Sometimes we get what we say intense rainfall or extreme rainfall. Ekach disan 10 centimeter nala chad paus par jala intense rainfall nala extreme rainfall, and that 1 day's rainfall 2-3 घंटे तो चितले paus पड़ता. Such things have happened, especially in the Panjim.
It's not a good thing actually.
Exactly. I will give a simple thing. For example, every day we have our breakfast. 11 o'clock we have some tea. Then we have the lunch. Then we have the evening tea. Then we have the ninan. Imagine we don't have such things. Like our Anna Hasare, who used to do some book hartal or whatever for 10 days. Imagine 10 days or 1 month's rainfall falling in 1 day. Can you eat the 10 days food or 1 month's food in one time? We are not like Kumbhakarna now, who sleeps for 6 months and eats for...
So it leads to floods and
what is it? It affects
the property.
The land use, land change pattern also it affects. We get flooding. So we have some 3 or 4 such intense rainfall event, and in between pausacha break ata. That is actually bad from the drinking water point of view, from the agriculture point of view, even from the hydroelectric power. Even though we don't have such things, but other states which produce hydroelectric power, it is affecting.
So, prevent
okay, there are so many things which we need to do. One is actually, I will tell you, we should not be too much dependent. In fact, in good old days, almost all the houses had wells. Ponds, lakes, so such things actually there should be a recharge of the groundwater. Recharging of the groundwater can take place if there is actually proper mechanisms. That is actually decreasing, which is a very, very sad thing. Another thing is actually
lakes and
exactly, lakes, ponds, temples. Most of the temples are actually ponds. That should be regenerated or renewed or maybe restored. I'll put it that way, restored. And
we are becoming dependent on this tap water.
Exactly.
And we are neglecting traditional
100% is true, so because the traditional resources of water and this one, we close down the well and make a room over there or maybe use it for some different purpose. So that water recharging mechanism we have stopped, so there is no groundwater. And as you said, the regenerative mechanism like say ponds, lakes and wells, that also we have totally neglected.
The pavers and road and sorry constructions even
exactly.
Most
of the places we put tiles so that we don't want our kids to have actually this one. So that is actually a very bad thing. And as you mentioned about the World Ocean Day, luckily we are fortunate. We have one of the premier organizations in the whole of India, maybe in the whole world at NIO Donapala Goa. And every year, on 1st of January, it was actually born after actually what we call International Indian Ocean Expedition 61 to 65. So it was founded on 1st January 1966. I would say it's actually one-stop shop for all the oceanographic work. Okay, we do physical oceanography, we do biological oceanography, we do chemical oceanography, geological oceanography, geophysics, marine biology, marine archaeology. In fact, one of the oldest dockyards in the world is actually founded or it was discovered by Professor S.R. Rao, a place called Lothal, which is actually in Gujarat. And Dwaraga also.
Yes.
That was actually a project which
we have in Goa, we have Gopaka.
That was also,
that was supposed to be actually studied by
NIO people. NIO people are doing, Dr. Nigam is doing, and such people is being done by NIO people.
Okay.
And NIO is working on 2 important things from the ocean. I make living resources and non-living resources. Living resources is actually a fish. And we get actually, in fact, we were recruited to get actually what we call polymetallic nodules. आमचे 3 or 4 kilometers down. If the resources over the land, let's say magnesium, cobalt, nickel, they get exhausted. We are supposed to go, and Dr. Siddiqui was actually instrumental in making. We were all recruited for that, and we went down and started collecting these polymetallic nodules in the central Indian Ocean. So we had actually another important aspect of actually NIO was actually we were the first people to go to Antarctica. It was the first expedition was led by Dr. S.S.R. Qasim. Way back in 1981, he went in December and reached in Antarctica on 9th January 1982. So NIO has actually, I would say these are the two important things. One is actually going into Antarctica, and the polymetallic nodules play a very important role on the institute, and NIO has actually collaboration with almost all the oceanographic institutes in the world. We also do dissertation work at the undergraduate level, postgraduate level. We also take students for their PhDs. We have a course called ACSIR, Academy of Scientific and Innovative Research. I was a coordinator there for some time, where the students from all over India, even outside countries also, Indian Ocean Rim countries from Africa, come and do their PhDs with us.
So it's a very good opportunity for Goan youth also.
Exactly.
Yeah. पळोवपाक जाय opportunities कितें आसा. We are lucky to have such a huge.
I was about to come to that. What you said is 100%.
Reputed institution in Goa.
See, one of the most reputed institutions, maybe it's actually what we call CSR, Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, and it is one of the most prestigious institutes where the students can get exposure to the various institutions. So we have actually 3 open days. One is the 1st of January, we call it actually Foundation Day, and we have on 28th of February, we call that National Science Day. That's actually which was Raman effect was discovered on that day, and the third day which is open is actually 26th of September. So those are the 3 open days where the students, whether the high school students or the undergraduate students or the postgraduate students, can come and visit, interact with the scientists. They will be taken around to see the various facilities. In fact, we have actually one important aspect, what we call actually seahorse. We are actually trying or rearing actually seahorse in a lab within this one, and seahorse are actually supposed to be highly aphrodisiac property, and people have been importing. Another important thing is actually we are simulating the coral, this one, in using seawater, and you can see in the foyer, and you can see a lot of marine archaeological things, especially anchors which are actually put in the foyer as well as in the side.
So coming back to monsoons, what is the characteristics of Goan monsoon?
Okay.
Goan monsoon कसो आसता आणि over the years तो कसो बदलला, and
Okay.
what are in future, what we can expect?
Oh, very good question, because whenever we talk of Goa, in fact, we also sell. We say in the tourism, go Goa 365 days. People come, especially the foreigners come to see. Our monsoon is actually totally, the Indian monsoon and even the Goan monsoon is actually so beautiful and so good. People come, especially the foreigners who would like to come and see our monsoon. And as you correctly mentioned, I have actually done a small, this one on weather and climate of Goa, maybe about 15-20 years back. So as you correctly mentioned, we get a reasonable amount of rainfall during the pre-monsoon. This year we had actually a very bad story. We had only a couple of showers during the pre-monsoon, hardly any rainfall. Maybe one rainfall in the month of April and a little bit in the month of May. But this year, let us hope, I don't want to blame it everything on El Nino, but I can partially say, but I am very hopeful that this year आमचे monsoon season बरे पावस मेळटलो, normal or maybe excess. The maximum rainfall आमकां मेळटा जुलै ऑगस्ट मासांनी मेळटा. We call it the peak monsoon months. The July August पावस मेळटा, like last year. Last year we had actually fantastic spell in the month of July 2023, but August was a very bad story. Even for the state of Goa and even for the state of the Indian subcontinent also, where we had actually 6% deficit all over India.
So, well, next, right now what is going on is this fishing ban.
Yeah.
So fishing ban, every year 2 महिने fishing ban असतं, and that is only for the western states.
West coast of India, very true.
ताजो कितें फायदो जाता आनी कितें आयडिया कितें पडटा ताचे फाटल्यान?
Very good question, because see, this is actually the spawning time of the fishes. If you go by the motorized or engine or vehicles or whatever and try to take the baby ones or by the young ones, so it's actually you are destroying the whole food or ecosystem. So there is actually a 45-day ban. Starting from Kerala, maybe up to Gujarat or whatever that area. And as you said, west coast of India. And as you said, east coast, we don't have much this one. So it is very important. So they spawn and that get enough time to bring. It's actually helping us, I'll put it that way, to revive the system and especially the ecology and the fishes to come to their stage where they are grown up or maybe sufficient for big enough for consumption. Very important.
What is the status of fish population in and around Govan?
Okay, that's also another interesting question.
असे म्हणतात की काय स्पीसीज ना जाल्या आणि खूप चेंजेस जावपाक लागल्या
what you said is
because
true,
of climate change.
Exactly. Because of the climate change, two things are happening. As I mentioned, one is actually sea surface temperature are increasing. If the sea surface temperature rise, not only the fishes, just imagine if we are put into a hot sun, what we will try to do is actually stand under the shade of a tree, or we will try to go to a place where there is actually winds, or maybe an AC room, ideally. The same thing is applicable for the fishes. So fishes will actually try to migrate into the regions where there is actually cold water. Okay, so the fishes we are traditionally supposed to get in the Kerala or maybe Karnataka or Goa will migrate into the other areas which is cooler, or they may go deep down. In the worst scenario, they may extinct. So they cannot survive.
And this year we had a very hot season. The climate change is very visible.
Very visible. So
throughout the country.
So it affects. So either they will try migrate to the cooler waters, or they may try to go down. But if none of these cases apply, they will just extinct. As simple as that. So people, as you said, have to do with whatever is available. And over exploitation of the fish is actually equally important. We try to exploit. Which is, as I said, now 45 days there is a ban, but people don't bother about that or whatever. The same.
Mechanized trawlers.
Exactly. They go for overkill.
Overkill. So it will affect the fish
whole
ecosystem
and the fisheries.
And it will have a very long-term
impact. Long-term impact.
Difficult.
It does not happen overnight. It's actually like a continuous process.
So what precautions the state government and even a citizen should take to prevent this kind of
basically now from ocean's point of view, people consider oceans as a garbage bin. See, whatever comes, whether it's actually sewerage actually from the sewerage from the 5-star hotels or whatever, or even common man, whether it's oil. So you have actually oil spill, you have a lot of sewerage which is coming from the various hotels or whatever. People consider that's actually waste bin, which is actually very bad. We have to look after the health of the oceans. So the fish which we eat is actually from the ocean only. So whatever we put, it's actually one of the most important is actually the microplastics in the ocean. That affects the fishes. We have actually a scientist called Professor Mahua Saha. She actually works on that. And another group is actually working actually on the oil spills, from where we can do actually fingerprinting, just like your fingerprint. We could identify from which area, or if you take that oil spill, we can identify from what is the source of that oil spill, whether it's actually from which area or from a particular ship, or what type of crude oil is used. So such facilities are also available at NIO.
Okay.
So we can identify who actually made this oil spill, from which.
Are there any cases like? No,
we report it to the central ministry and they take the necessary precautions or whatever. Such things are being done and we report it to them. We have actually used a facility called remote sensing also. Satellite remote sensing I use karta ami.
Cases oil spillage.
We can pinpoint and we collect the sample, do the analysis. So just like the forensic studies, here also we can do the fingerprinting of the oil, whether it's actually from which tanker, which this one, what type of crude oil has come. So we can pinpoint the source of that oil spill or whatever. Very important, and such works are actually done at NIO. NIO does almost, as I said, almost A to Z, from marine archaeology to biology to chemistry.
And this is important question. Goa being a coastal state, and Goa has got almost 110 kilometers of coastal line.
Coastal area.
And Goa is also completely dependent on tourism.
100%.
Because this coastline is very, very crucial for our economic growth. So if any pollution in ocean will directly affect our economy.
It comes as tar balls. What you said is true.
Best example.
Best example is actually oil spill comes as the tar balls in the months of actually April or May. That is one thing. Another thing is actually effect of the climate change or global warming. See, if the sea level starts rising, that will affect our coast, the beaches. And Goa people come actually for the beaches. Just imagine if the tar ball comes to the beaches, it will affect. Or maybe if the sea level is rising, the beautiful beaches
How
of
serious
Kalama.
is this issue of sea level rise?
That is very, very serious. See, for example, both the Arctic and Antarctic. Arctic we have actually an ocean, and the sea ice is over there. And Antarctica is a continent, which is actually 90% of the ice over the globe is actually over there, and 70% of the world's fresh water is over there. Just imagine the ice shelves over there starts melting. So usually we have actually 2 to 3 millimeters rise of sea level in general, but the sea level rise has been substantial during the past decade or maybe the past few years. So this is going to affect.
Okay. Especially, I think the Tiswadi, they are saying that Tiswadi is almost on the sea level.
Yeah.
So there are many areas which are going to be submerged if there is a little bit of sea
Not
level
only
rise.
the coastal areas, there are a lot of islands. See, for example, Maldives, Lakshadweeps. Lakshadweep and Andaman and Nicobar are actually coral islands. So that actually affects. See, one is actually the coral bleaching, acidification also affects. In addition, the sea level. So it's actually this one pronged attack actually on this low-lying islands like Gan Island, Maldives, or maybe Lakshadweep, or maybe Andaman Nicobar Islands if the sea level is rising. And both Lakshadweep as well as Andaman Nicobar Islands actually coral islands. So it affects.
They will be completely wiped out from the map.
Exactly from the map. Because of the multi-pronged effect. One is the sea level rise, the other is actually the bleaching, and the third is actually acidification. So everything affects that.
And this is a global issue actually.
Exactly.
And it has to be tangled at a global level.
Everybody should think. It's not just the effect of actually of Goa coast or maybe Arabian Sea or Bay of Bengal. The best example is actually the Great Barrier Reef over the Australia. And there are lots of places, including Pacific Ocean. There's lots and lots of actually garbage. There's a huge pool, or people call it actually soup of actually plastics in the Pacific Ocean. So such things are happening, and we have to maintain the health of the ocean. And we do. NIO does a lot of, but as you correctly said, each citizen should also not only the beaches. We cannot throw any junk actually in the beaches or into the ocean as a garbage, and we should not put.
So
it should be cleaned.
We need to put our act together.
Exactly.
And I think it's high time that we should do something for our planet to prevent further pollution. आणि आमचे जर फ्युचर आमच्या भुरग्यांचें आनी आमचे जर फुडल्या जनरेशनाचें जर फ्युचर जर बरें उरतलें जाल्यार आमी आतांच कितें तरी उपाय करचे पडटले. प्रत्येकान आपल्या लेवलाचेर कितें ना कितें हाका कंट्रिब्यूट करचें पडटलें, आनी तेन्नाच आमची हें पोल्युशन, ओशन आयज जो वर्ल्ड ओशन डे आसा, सी लेवल रायज, बाकीचे जे कितले इश्यूज आसात ते, आनी देट वील आमचे डायरेक्टली आमकां अफेक्ट जातले हाजे फुडें
100% अफेक्ट जातले. What you said is true, because Goa being a coastal state, and Goa is purely dependent upon actually the tourism, especially, and people come to Goa for actually, as I said, fish curry rice.
So
we have to be extra we have to put extra effort actually in maintaining our beaches in a good condition, and maybe our coastal areas, and each citizen should be worried about the environment. Couple of days back only we celebrated the World Environment Day on 5th of June. Now today is actually World Oceans Day. So we have to be aware of our environment, especially the oceanic environment, which most of the people are not gone. For us, ocean is actually
over now. So as Dr. Ramesh Kumar just said, की आमी गोंयकारांनी आनी चड केअरफूल रावचें पडटलें, कारण आमची चड मोठी जबाबदारी आसा, कारण आमी कोस्टल स्टेट, आनी आमकां ह्यो ज्यो गोश्टी आसा, सी लेवल रायज पासून ओशन पोल्युशन, ह्यो सगळ्यो गोश्टी डायरेक्टली अफेक्ट जावप आसा. सो ताजे खातीर म्हाका दिसता प्रत्येकान आपलो वांटो उबारचो, प्रत्येकान आपलें जें कंट्रिब्युशन आसा पर्यावरण सेव करपा खातीर तें आमी करचें पडटलें, आनी तेन्नाच आमची फ्युचर जनरेशन सेक्युअर उरतलें. आमी हांगाच ही मुलाखत सोंपयता, आनी खास करून डॉक्टर रमेश कुमार हांगा मुद्दाम आयले आनी ताणें आपली मोलादीक म्हायती आमकां दिली, ताजे खातीर आमी तांचे धन्यवाद म्हणटात.
Thank you, sir, for inviting me to this World Ocean Day to address to you and say the importance of actually oceans for a coastal state like Goa. Whether it's actually the monsoons, the fisheries, the beaches, everything is dependent on actually the surrounding oceanic regions. Thank you. धन्यवाद.
थँक्यू. पळयत रावात गोमंतक TV.